Hey, so tonight I want to share something personal, something I never thought I'd be talking about, especially not like this. It's about family, betrayal, and how the people you think you know best can turn out to be complete strangers. If you've ever felt like the outsider in your own family, or if you've been betrayed by someone you loved, this story might resonate with you. It started like any normal childhood, but it didn't end that way. If this kind of storytelling speaks to you, feel free to like, subscribe, and drop a comment with your thoughts or your own story. Now, die in the lights or put on your headphones, and let's begin. My younger brother Marcus has always hated me. Not the typical sibling rivalry kind of hate, but something deeper, more visceral, like I was an obstacle in his perfect life. And the thing is, there was no logical reason for it. He was the favorite. He was the one Mom doted on, the one who could do no wrong in her eyes. I was just there, the reliable one, the quiet one, the one who didn't need attention because I could handle things on my own. Growing up, our house had an unspoken hierarchy. Marcus was at the top, golden and untouchable. Mom would cook his favorite meals every night, do his laundry without complaint, and even ask me to help Hyan with his homework. I remember sitting at the kitchen table with Hyan, trying to explain algebra while he barely paid attention, knowing that if his RAM had slipped, somehow it would reflect badly on me for not helping enough. But when I needed help with something, when I struggled with chemistry or needed someone to quiz me before a test, there was no one. I learned early on to figure things out myself. Maybe that made me seem cold to them. Maybe that's why Mom always looked at me with a kind of distant disappointment, like I was missing some essential warmth that Marcus had in abundance. Marcus and I were complete opposites. I was introverted, bookish, wore thick-framed glasses that constantly slid down my nose. I liked reading in my room, keeping a journal, thinking through problems methodically. He was loud, athletic, the kind of kid who commanded attention the moment he walked into a room. He looked like our father, big and broad-shouldered, even as a teenager, with that easy confidence that came from never being told no. I looked more like Mom's side of the family, smaller, leaner, with features that seemed too delicate for a boy. At least, that's what Marcus told me constantly. He'd call me weak, scrawny. A nerd who'd never amount to anything. And for years, I believed Hyan. The bullying started small, little things. He'd sneak into my room when I wasn't there and read my journal, then bring up embarrassing entries at dinner to make everyone laugh. He'd hide my glasses before school, so I'd be late looking for them. Once, he put pebbles in my cereal, small enough that I almost didn't notice before putting a spoonful in my mouth. When I told Mom, she laughed it off, said boys will be boys, that this was how brothers bonded. But it didn't feel like bonding. It felt like warfare, and I was losing. The worst part wasn't the pranks or the insults. It was the public humiliation. We went to the same school, which meant Marcus knew everything about my life there. He knew I was being bullied by a remote of kids in my remade. Kids who thought it was hilarious to call me names and shove me in the hallways. Instead of defending me, Marcus joined them. He'd walk past me in the cafeteria and mutter insults under his breath, loud enough for his friends to hear and laugh. He'd tell them things about me, private things he'd learned from reading my journal, and they'd weaponize it against me. Once, during a particularly bad fight at home, Marcus told me I should kill myself. I was 15. I was already struggling with depression, already feeling like maybe the world would be better off without me, and hearing those words from my own brother shattered something inside me that I'm still trying to put back together. Mom never intervened. Dad was always at work, building his business, providing for us but absent in the ways that mattered. And when Dad finally did notice, when Marcus tried to set my hair on fire during a fight and Dad walked in on it, that's when things started to change. I'll never forget the look on Dad's face, this mixture of horror and rage. He threatened to call the police. Marcus went pale. For the first thank you in his life, he faced real consequences, and he didn't know how to handle it. That night, Dad came into my room. He sat on the edge of my bed and just looked at me for a long thank you before speaking. He said he was sorry. That had been waiting for Marcus to remow up, to mature, to realize that the world didn't revolve around Hyan. But Marcus wasn't changing. If anything, he was getting worse. Dad asked me why I never told Hyan how bad things were, and I didn't have a good answer. Maybe I thought it would get better. Maybe I thought I deserved it somehow. Dad listened, really listened. And then he told me something I'll never forget. He said I needed to learn to fight back, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. That I couldn't let Marcus or anyone else make me feel small. The next day, Dad enrolled me in MMA classes at the local gym. I was skeptical at first. I was skinny, uncoordinated, the kind of kid who got picked last in gym class. But I went, and I kept going. I trained every day after school, learning how to throw a punch, how to move, how to defend myself. The physical transformation was ramadual, but the mental shift was immediate. For the first thank you in my life, I felt powerful, not in a violent way, but in a way that said I mattered, that I had value, that I could protect myself. A few months later, Marcus stole money from my room. I'd been saving my allowance for weeks, planning to buy a new laptop for college applications. I caught Hyen in the driveway, about to ride off with his friends. I demanded he give it back. He laughed in my face, told me to run crying to Dad like I always did. But I didn't run. I punched Hyen, square in the face. He stumbled backward, stunned, blood trickling from his nose. I took my money back and walked away. He started crying, loud theatrical sobs that brought Mom running. She scolded me, told me I should know better, that I was the older brother and should set an example. But when Dad got home and heard the full story, he told Marcus he was lucky I only hit Hyen once, that if anyone else had caught Hyen stealing, they'd have called the police. After that, Marcus changed. He stopped physically bullying me because he knew I could fight back now. But the hatred didn't disappear. It just went under a mound. He'd ignore me, mutter insults when our parents weren't around, refuse to speak to me directly. If he needed to tell me something, he'd go through Mom. And Mom, despite everything, still defended Hyen, still made excuses, still acted like I was the problem for not being more understanding of his struggles. What struggles? I wanted to scream. Has the favorite. Has always been the favorite. What does he have to struggle with? But I kept quiet. I focused on school, on getting good grades, on planning my escape. The day I got my acceptance letter to my dream university with a full scholarship was the best day of my life. Dad threw a party. Mom seemed proud. Marcus didn't say a word. He just stared at me across the dinner table with this look of pure resentment. And I knew, even then, that this wasn't over. That somewhere down the line, he'd find a way to make me pay for succeeding where he was failing. I just didn't know it would destroy everything it built. University was freedom. For the first thank you in my life, I wasn't living in Marcus' shadow. I wasn't the weird older brother who didn't fit in. I made friends easily, joined study removes, found professors who actually saw my potential. I dated casually, nothing serious, just enjoyed being young and unattached. Then, in my second year, I met Sophie at a frat party. She was beautiful, confident, funny, everything I didn't know I was looking for. We clicked instantly. She laughed at my jokes, listened when I talked about my family issues, made me feel seen in a way I'd never experienced before. Within months, we were inseparable. By our final year, she was pregnant. I won't lie. I panicked at first. We were so young, barely adults ourselves, and the idea of raising a child felt overwhelming. But Sophie was calm, reassuring. She said we'd figure it out together. We came from religious families, so abortion wasn't an option either of us seriously considered. And honestly, the more I thought about it, the more I wanted this. A family of my own, a chance to do things differently than my parents had. So we got married right after Ramaduation, a small ceremony with close family and friends. My parents were there, supportive and happy for us. Marcus came too, though he barely spoke to me during the reception. He congratulated Sophie, made small talk with my parents, but avoided me entirely. I told myself it didn't matter. That day was about Sophie and me and the life we were building. Marcus could stay bitter if he wanted. The first few years of marriage were good. Hard but good. We struggled financially, juggling student loans and new parent expenses, but we loved each other. Or at least, I thought we did. Our son, Ethan, was born healthy and perfect, and I threw myself into fatherhood with an intensity that surprised even me. I changed diapers, got up for middle-of-the-night feedings, read parenting books, did everything I could to be the father I'd never had. Sophie seemed happy, shed smile when I came home from work, kissed me hello, tell me she loved me. But looking back now, I see the cracks I ignored. The way Shed Samades seemed distant, distracted, like her mind was somewhere else. The phone calls Shed taken the other room, the late nights at work that became more and more frequent. I wanted to trust her. I needed to trust her. So, I pushed down my doubts and kept going. The first thank you when I caught her cheating, Ethan was 3. I came home early from a business trip and found text messages on her phone, explicit ones, from a coworker. When I confronted her, she cried, begged for forgiveness, swore it would never happen again. She said Shed made a mistake, that she was stressed and lonely and had been there when I wasn't. I wanted to leave. Every logical part of my brain told me to pack up and walk away. But I thought about Ethan, about raising Hyan in a broken home, about becoming another statistic. So I forgave her. We went to couples therapy, worked on our communication, tried to rebuild what we'd lost. For a while, it seemed like we'd made it through. The second thank you was a year later. She'd gone to visit her family for a week, taking Ethan with her. When she came back, something felt off. She was withdrawn, avoiding eye contact, snapping at me over little things. It took me 2 months to get the truth out of her. Shed slept with an ex-boyfriend while she was there. Just once, she said. A moment of weakness that meant nothing. I should have left then. I know that now. But I'd already forgiven her once, and leaving felt like admitting defeat. Like proving I wasn't strong enough to hold my family together. So I stayed. I forgave her again. And I tried, desperately, to move forward. For 4 years, things were stable. Not perfect, but stable. Sophie seemed committed to making our marriage work. We had routines, family dinners, weekend trips to the park with Ethan. I let myself believe we'd turned a corner, that we were finally okay. I should have known better. 3 months ago, Sophie sat me down and told me she'd been having an affair. Not just any affair, a long-term, ongoing relationship that had lasted years. And then she said something that made my entire world collapse. She said Ethan might not be mine. That she wasn't sure who the father was. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what she was telling me. The son I'd raised, the boy I'd taught to ride a bike and read Betty Ann stories to and loved with every fiber of my being, might not be mine. I asked her who could possibly have done this? And when she said Marcus, something inside me died. My brother, my own brother had been sleeping with my wife, had fathered my son, had looked me in the eye at family gatherings, and lied. And Sophie had let Hyan, had participated in it, had built our entire life on a foundation of betrayal so deep I still can't fully comprehend it. She explained it all in this detached, clinical way, like she was describing a book she'd read instead of the destruction of my life. She said Marcus had been kind to her when I first brought her home to meet my family, that they'd bonded over video games and movies, and I'd been happy about it because I thought maybe it meant Marcus and I could finally have a relationship. She said Marcus had opened up to her about a breakup, that had been vulnerable, and things had just happened. They'd slept together during that Christmas visit, right under my nose, in my parents' house, and when she found out she was pregnant, she didn't know who the father was. So she chose me, because I was stable, because I had better prospects, because Marcus was a mess who couldn't take care of Hyan's self, let alone a child. She chose me like I was a backup plan, a safety net for when her real choice didn't pan out. And then she kept sleeping with Hyan. For years, half her business trips, she said, were actually hotel rooms with Marcus. They'd maintained this secret relationship through my entire marriage, through Ethan's birth and childhood, through every moment I thought we were building something real. I asked her why she was telling me now. Why? After all this thank youing, she'd decided to come clean. She said she felt guilty, that she couldn't live with the lie anymore, that she wanted us to have a fresh start based on honesty. But all I heard was that Shed had years to stop, years to confess, years to do the right thing, and she hadn't. Shed only told me because the guilt became too heavy to carry, not because she actually cared about what this would do to me. I packed my bags that night. She cried, begged me to stay, said we could work through this like we'd worked through everything else. But there was nothing to work through. Shed destroyed us. She and Marcus had taken everything he'd built and burned it to the ground. And when I walked out the door, leaving her sobbing on the porch, I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just this vast emptiness where my life used to be. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house. I remember remipping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white, rehearsing what I was going to say over and over in my head. The sun was barely up, casting long shadows across the suburban streets I'd grown up on. Everything looked so normal, so peaceful. Kids riding bikes, neighbors watering their lawns. The world continuing like nothing had changed. But my world had shattered. I needed my parents to hear this from me, before Marcus could spin some story or Sophie could plead her case with her version of events. When I pulled into their driveway, I sat in the car for a full 5 minutes, just breathing. My hands were shaking. I felt nauseous, like my body was rejecting what I was about to do. This was going to destroy my mother. I knew that. Despite everything Marcus had done to me over the years, he was still her baby, her golden child. And I was about to tell her that her perfect son had been sleeping with my wife, had possibly fathered my child, had been lying to all of us for years. Part of me wanted to drive away, to pretend I never found out, to let them live in blissful ignorance. But I couldn't. I deserved to have my family know the truth. I deserved to have them see Marcus for who he really was. I rang the doorbell instead of using my key. Something about this moment felt too formal, too significant for the casual familiarity of just walking in. Dad answered, still in his bathrobe, coffee mug in hand. He smiled when he saw me, but it faded quickly when he saw my face. He said I looked like hell and asked if everything was okay. I told Hyen I needed to talk to both Hyen and Mom, that it was important. The kind of conversation that changes everything. He nodded, his expression remaining serious, and let me in. Mom was in the kitchen making breakfast, the smell of bacon and eggs filling the house. It reminded me of Saturday mornings as a kid, before everything got complicated, before Marcus and I became enemies instead of brothers. She turned when she heard me come in, her face lighting up the way it always did when I visited. And then that light died in mid too when she saw my expression. She asked if I wanted breakfast. I shook my head. I couldn't eat, could barely even swallow. We sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where Wed had countless family dinners, where Marcus and I had done homework together as kids, where Wed celebrated birthdays and holidays and milestones. And I destroyed the peace of that space with my words. I started from the beginning, told them about Sophie's first affair, the one I'd forgiven, about the second one, and how I'd forgiven that too because I wanted to keep our family intact. And then I told them about 3 months ago, when Sophie sat me down and confessed to a long-term affair. When I said it was with Marcus, my mother made this sound, somewhere between a gasp and a sob. She said no, that couldn't be right. That Marcus would never do something like that to his own brother. My father just stared at me, his face going pale, his jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscles working. I kept going, told them about the paternity question, about how Sophie admitted she'd been sleeping with both of us and didn't know who Ethan's father was until recently, about how they'd maintained this relationship for years, sneaking around behind my back, lying to my face at every family gathering. My mother started to cry, these quiet tears that rolled down her cheeks as she shook her head, refusing to believe it. She kept saying Marcus wouldn't do this, that there must be some mistake, some misunderstanding, that Sophie was lying or confused or trying to hurt me. But I could see in Dad's face that he believed me. He knew Marcus was capable of this, had always known, deep down, that Marcus had a cruel streak Wed all ignored for too long. I pulled out my phone, told them I was going to call Marcus right now, right here, and get Hyen to admit it. Mom tried to stop me, said we should wait, that we should think about this more carefully. But Dad put his hand on her arm, told her to let me do this, that if Marcus had done what I said, they needed to hear it from Hyen. So I called, put it on speaker, and when Marcus answered, sounding ramaggy and annoyed at the early call, I got straight to the point. I asked Hyen if he'd slept with Sophie. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then he laughed, this nervous, brittle sound, and said I was crazy, that Sophie was lying, that she was trying to cause trouble between us because E'd probably done something to upset her. I told Hyen Sophie had already confessed everything, that I knew about the affair, about the pregnancy, about every hotel room and every lie. The laughter stopped. Marcus went quiet for a long moment, and I could hear Hyen breathing on the other end. Could practically feel Hyen trying to figure out how to play this. Then he pivoted, started blaming Sophie, calling her manipulative, saying she'd seduced Hyen, that had tried to resist but she wouldn't leave Hyen alone. He said women were always throwing themselves at Hyen because he was the better-looking brother, the more charismatic one. And it wasn't his fault if Sophie found Hyen more attractive than me. My mother gasped again, louder this thank you and her hand flying to her mouth. Dad's face went from pale to red, anger flooding his features. And Marcus, realizing Head just admitted everything while insulting me in the process, tried to backtrack. Started stammering, saying he didn't mean it like that we were misunderstanding Hyen. Dad reached across the table and took the phone from my hand. His voice when he spoke was calm, controlled, but I could hear the fury underneath. He told Marcus that what Head done was beyond forgiveness, that Head betrayed not just me, but the entire family, every value they tried to instill in us. That sleeping with your brother's wife, fathering a child with her, and lying about it for years wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. It was a pattern of deliberate cruelty that showed exactly what kind of man Marcus had become. Marcus tried to interrupt, to explain, but Dad cut Hyen off. Said he was done listening to excuses. That effective immediately, Marcus was cut off financially. No more tuition payments for the college Marcus had been attending. No more monthly allowance. No more credit card that Dad paid off. No more car insurance, phone bill, or apartment rent. Everything stopped today. Marcus would have to figure out his own life because he was no longer part of this family in any meaningful way. The panic in Marcus' voice was immediate. He started pleading, saying he was sorry, that Head made a terrible mistake and would do anything to make it right. But Dad just hung up, ended the call mid-sentence, cutting off Marcus' desperate apologies. The silence in the kitchen was heavy, oppressive. Mom was crying openly now, her whole body shaking with sobs. She looked at me and said she was sorry, over and over. That Shed failed as a mother. That Shed let Marcus become this person by always defending Hyen and never holding Hyen accountable. I got up and hugged her. This woman who'd spent my entire childhood favoring my brother over me. And I told her it wasn't her fault. That Marcus made his own choices. That we all did. Dad sat there looking older than I'd ever seen Hyen. Like this revelation had aged Hyen 10 years in 10 minutes. He said he should have seen it coming, should have done something sooner. But I told Hyen the same thing I told Mom. Marcus was an adult. He knew what he was doing, and now he had to face the consequences. The next few weeks were a blur of lawyer consultations and court dates. Sophie fought the divorce hard, tried to claim she deserved alimony since Shed sacrificed her career to raise Ethan while I built mine. Her lawyer painted me as cold and unforgiving, someone who was abandoning his family over a mistake. But my lawyer was better. Presented evidence of both affairs, of the long-term deception, of the paternity question that hung over everything. The judge wasn't sympathetic to Sophie's case. Shed committed adultery, multiple had lied about the paternity of a child, and expected me to continue supporting her financially. The ruling came down heavily in my favor. No alimony, split custody of Ethan pending paternity testing, with me having the option to terminate parental rights if the test proved I wasn't the biological father. I remember sitting in the clinic waiting room for those test results, my leg bouncing nervously, hands clasped so tight my fingers went numb. Part of me hoped the test would prove Ethan was mine, that despite everything else, at least I'd still have my son. But another part of me, the part that was tired of living in Sophie and Marcus' web of lies, wanted the truth no matter how painful. When the doctor called me back to his office, I knew from his expression what he was going to say. Ethan wasn't mine. Marcus was the biological father. The doctor asked if I was okay, if I needed a moment, but I just thanked Hyen and left. Drove home in complete silence. No music, no radio. Just the sound of my own breathing and the occasional sob I couldn't suppress. That night was the hardest. I sat alone in my apartment, the one I'd rented after moving out of the house I'd shared with Sophie, and I cried. Really cried. For the first thank you and since this all started. I relieved for the son I'd lost, for the 5 years I'd spent loving a child who wasn't mine, for the future we'd never have. I thought about all the moments we'd shared, teaching Hyen to tie his shoes, reading Betty Ann's stories in silly voices, pushing Hyen on the swings at the park. Those memories were real, even if the foundation they were built on was a lie. But I couldn't be his father anymore. Every thank you and I looked at Hyen. I saw Marcus, saw the betrayal, saw everything that had been taken from me. Sophie called constantly those first few days after the results came in, begging me to reconsider staying in Ethan's life. She said he was asking for me, didn't understand why Daddy wasn't coming home. That broke me, absolutely shattered me. But I held firm, told her Ethan was her and Marcus' responsibility now, that I needed to move forward, and I couldn't do that with constant reminders of what I'd lost. People judged me for that decision. Some friends, even family members, said I was being cruel to an innocent child who didn't ask for any of this. That had been his father for 5 years and biology shouldn't matter. But they didn't understand. They didn't know what it felt like to discover that your entire life was built on lies, that the child you'd have died for wasn't actually yours, that your own brother had stolen not just your wife but your son. I needed distance, needed space to heal. Maybe someday I'd be ready to have some kind of relationship with Ethan, when the wounds weren't so raw and I could see Hyen as a person separate from the betrayal. But that day wasn't now. Maybe it would never come, and I had to make peace with that. 2 months after the divorce was finalized, Dad called me, said he'd been thinking about his estate planning and wanted to make some changes. He was getting older, had just turned 65, and wanted to ensure everything was in order. He asked if I could come over that weekend to discuss it. When I arrived, he had documents spread across his home office desk, financial statements and property deeds and insurance policies. He walked me through everything: his retirement accounts, the house, his investment portfolio, the life insurance policy. Altogether, it totaled nearly $2 million. He said he was changing his will to leave everything to me, that Marcus would receive $1. The legal minimum to prove he hadn't been forgotten, but deliberately excluded from the inheritance. I tried to argue, said it seemed too harsh, that despite everything Marcus was still his son. But Dad's face was hard, determined. He said Marcus had made his choices and now had to live with them, that a man who would betray his own brother didn't deserve the fruits of his father's labor. The only condition was that if Dad died before Mom, she could continue living in the family house for the rest of her life, even though legal ownership would transfer to me. Aramid told Hyen it'd never kick Mom out, that it'd take care of her no matter what. Dad nodded, satisfied, and signed the new will right there with me as witness. Said it gave Hyen peace, knowing his life's work would go to the son who actually deserved it. I should have known Mom would tell Marcus. She couldn't help herself, I think. Despite everything he'd done, despite the pain he'd caused, he was still her baby. The son shed doted on for his entire life. Old habits die hard, I guess. 2 weeks after Dad changed the will, my phone rang with Marcus' number. I'd blocked Hyen after our last conversation, but he was calling from a different number, probably borrowed a friend's phone. Against my better judgment, I answered. His voice was different, small, desperate in a way I'd never heard before. He said he'd found out about the will, about Dad leaving everything to me, that he was struggling, really struggling, and needed help. Had to drop out of college because he couldn't afford tuition without Dad's support. Was working as a mechanic, barely making enough to cover rent on a tiny apartment he shared with 2 roommates. And Sophie, he said, Sophie was demanding child support for Ethan, amounts he couldn't possibly pay on his current salary. He was drowning, he said, and I was the only one who could help Hyen. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The sheer audacity of Hyen asking me for help, after everything he'd done, was almost funny in its absurdity. I asked Hyen if he was serious, if he actually thought I'd intervene on his behalf after he'd slept with my wife and fathered my son. He got defensive then, said I was being unfair, that Sophie was just as much to blame as he was. And I Aramid with Hyen. Told Hyen that's exactly why I divorced her, why she was no longer my problem, that she was his problem now, his responsibility, and he needed to figure it out without my help. Marcus tried a different approach, said family was supposed to stick together, that blood was thicker than water, all those cliches people throw around when they want something. I reminded Hyen that he hadn't cared much about family when he was sleeping with Sophie, that he hadn't worried about blood bonds when he was destroying my marriage, that had made his choice, and now he had to live with it. He started yelling then, saying I was holding a ramage, that I'd always been jealous of Hyen and this was my chance to get revenge. I stayed calm, told Hyen he had it backwards. That had been the one harboring resentment his entire life, taking out his issues on me through bullying and cruelty. That this wasn't revenge, this was consequences. I told Hyen he wasn't the golden child anymore, that he was the black sheep now, the one everyone had turned against and had done it to Hyen's self, that our Raman parents wouldn't talk to Hyen. Our cousins had blocked Hyen on social media. Our entire extended family wanted nothing to do with Hyen because they knew what had done. And it wasn't my responsibility to fix his reputation or his life. Had made these choices. He could live with them. Then Marcus started crying. Actually crying. These broken sobs that came through the phone line, and hit me harder than I expected. He said he was alone, that everyone had abandoned Hyan, that he was scared and didn't know what to do, how to fix this, how to survive. He begged me to talk to our parents, to convince them to give Hyan another chance. Said Head learned his lesson and would do anything to make things right. For a moment, just a brief moment, I felt bad. This was still my brother, the kid I'd grown up with, shared a childhood with. The person had been part of my life since the day he was born. Part of me remembered the good thank you-ness, few as they were, building forts in the backyard, watching cartoons on Saturday mornings, the way Head looked up to me when we were really young, before the jealousy and resentment set in. But that moment passed. I remembered everything else. The years of bullying, the insults, the way Head sided with my tormentors at school, the thank you he told me to kill myself when I was already suicidal, the way Head stolen my wife, lied to my face for years, fathered the child I'd thought was mine, the pattern of cruelty and selfishness that defined our entire relationship. And I realized I didn't owe Hyan anything. Not forgiveness, not help, not a relationship. Head had decades to be a better brother and had chosen not to. This was just the natural result of his own actions. I told Hyan we were done, that I'd never really considered Hyan a brother anyway, not in any meaningful sense, and now it was official, that he should delete my number, stop trying to contact me, and figure out his own life because I was done cleaning up his messes. He tried to say something else, but I hung up, blocked the number Head called from, and sat there in silence. I've replayed that conversation in my head countless thank you and since then, analyzing every word, questioning every decision. Was I too harsh? Should I have shown more compassion? Should I talk to my parents about giving Hyan another chance? But every thank you I consider reaching out. I remember the look on Sophie's face when she told me about the affair. The cold, detached way she explained how she had chosen me because I was more stable, like I was a backup plan instead of a person she loved. I remember the paternity test results, the way my world collapsed when I learned Ethan wasn't mine. I remember every cruel word Marcus ever said to me, every thank you he made me feel small and worthless and like I didn't belong in my own family. And I realize I made the right choice. Marcus doesn't want to make amends. He wants money. He wants his comfortable life back, the one where Dad funded everything, and he never had to face consequences for his actions. If Head genuinely changed, if Head actually learned anything from this experience, he wouldn't have started the conversation by asking me to fix things with our parents so he could get his inheritance. He would have started by apologizing, by acknowledging the pain Head caused and taking responsibility for his actions. But he didn't. He blamed Sophie, blamed me, blamed everyone except himself. That told me everything I needed to know. My life now is quiet in a way it's never been before. I got promoted at work 2 months ago, a significant raise and new responsibilities that keep me busy and focused. I'm in therapy twice a week, working through the betrayal and abandonment issues, learning how to trust again after having that trust so thoroughly destroyed. My therapist says I'm making good progress, that healing from this kind of trauma takes thank you and I shouldn't rush it. I'm not dating. The idea of opening myself up to someone new, of being vulnerable enough to build a relationship, feels impossible right now. Maybe it always will. Maybe Sophie and Marcus broke something in me that can't be fixed. But I'm trying, taking it one day at a thank you focusing on my career, my friendships, my relationship with my parents. Mom and I talk regularly now, something we never really did before all this happened. She calls me every Sunday, asks about my week, tells me about hers. She never mentions Marcus, and I never ask. I know she misses Hyan, know it tears her apart to have lost a son, even if that loss was necessary. Dad and I go golfing every weekend, and he's treating me more like a friend than a child. We talk about work, about life, about everything except the elephant in the room that is Marcus' absence. It's nice, this new dynamic. It's what I always wanted ramming up and never thought I'd have. I heard through a cousin that Marcus and Sophie are living together now, raising Ethan in a tiny apartment across town. That Marcus is working as a mechanic, barely making ends meet, and Sophie is back to waitressing because her dear me never amounted to much. That they fight constantly, that Ethan is confused and acting out, that the whole situation is a mess. Part of me feels vindicated by that, feels like they're getting exactly what they deserve. But another part, the part that's trying to heal and move forward, just feels sad. Sad for Ethan, who didn't ask for any of this and is paying the price for his parents' mistakes. Sad for the family we could have been if Marcus hadn't been so consumed by jealousy and resentment. Sad for all the wasted years and missed opportunities. But mostly I feel relief. Relief that I'm out of that toxic situation, that I'm no longer living a lie, that I don't have to pretend everything is fine when it's falling apart. I have the truth now, painful as it is. And I have freedom. The freedom to build a new life on my own terms, with people who actually value me, in a space where I don't have to constantly watch my back or wonder who's betraying me. It's not the life I planned. It's not the happy ending at imagined when I married Sophie and believed wed Ramau altogether. But it's mine, honestly mine, built on truth instead of lies. And that has to count for something. Some days late at night, when I can't sleep, I think about Ethan, wonder what he's doing, if he still asks about me, if he even remembers the father who raised Hyan for 5 years. I think about calling Sophie, asking for photos, maybe setting up supervised visits where I could see Hyan without getting pulled back into their drama. But I never follow through, because I know myself well enough to know I'm not ready. That seeing Ethan would destroy the careful walls I've built around my heart, would open wounds that are just starting to scab over. Maybe someday, when enough thank you has passed and the pain isn't so sharp, when I can look at Hyan and see a child instead of a symbol of everything I lost. But that day isn't today, and I've learned to be okay with that, to accept my own limitations and boundaries without guilt. I'm learning what it means to put myself first, to prioritize my own healing over other people's comfort, to say no without apologizing, to set boundaries without explaining myself, to walk away from situations and people that don't serve me. It's been a hard lesson, one I'm still learning. But every day gets a little easier. Every day I wake up in my own apartment, make my own decisions, live my own life, and I feel stronger, more whole, more like the person I was supposed to be before Marcus and Sophie, and the weight of family dysfunction crushed that person into someone small and afraid. Marcus can figure out his own life now. As an adult, capable and intelligent when he actually tries, and he needs to learn how to stand on his own 2 feet. I'm done being the responsible one, the one who sacrifices his own happiness to maintain family harmony. I'm done enabling behavior that hurts me in the name of keeping the peace. I'm done with all of it. And for the first thank you in my entire life, that decision doesn't fill me with guilt or uncertainty. It fills me with peace. The knowledge that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I need to do to survive and eventually thrive. This is my life now. My fresh start. My chance to build something real and lasting without the shadows of the past lurking around every corner. And I'm taking it. One day, one step, one small victory at a thank you.